Today I'm making Count Dooku's lightsaber, which doubles as a can opener. Yeah. For this build, I used craft foam, dowel foam, a coat hanger, a wooden dowel, reflective tape, clear packing tape, putty, paint, super glue, hot glue, cutting tools, sanding tools, safety gear, scissors, razor pens, and a box cutter. So today I'm going to start out with a length of wide EVA foam dowel, which you can get at most craft stores. First I cut roughly 9 inches, one standard Graflex. That's my unit of measurement. Then I dismantled a metal coat hanger. Has to be a metal one. People don't like to use these anymore because they can get rust on your clothes. I've never had that happen. I cut a length of coat hanger wire slightly shorter than the dowel and pressed it into the foam. Get in there. I said get. Yeah, it helps if you drill a pilot hole first. Once it was all the way in there, I bent the dowel and by extension, the metal inside. The metal will stay bent and so will the dowel. Now, a lot of people might ask, why build out of foam? And to that I say, it's easier than metal. You ever try to bend a lightsaber? Okay, this is actually significantly shorter than the dowel because the pommel has to be cut into later. Right now, I cut into it at an angle so that it would sit at an angle. You know, I glued it closed so that it would hold that sharper angle as opposed to the curve at the emitter end. Next, I drilled out a circular piece of foam and I cut it out using a leather hole punch, but any sharpened pipe that's the correct diameter will do. I just happened to find this in my leatherworking kit. I pressed the hole punch into the foam and worked it back and forth until I'd punched a hole in the middle. I saved the offcut for future projects. Then I cut a salami slice off of that and glued it to the end of the hilt. The pommel is wider than the foam dowel, so I traced 2 circles onto 1/2 inch thick EVA foam. Then I cut them out with a work knife. I didn't even attempt to do a circle because, you know, the blades are designed to snap off of these. So if you try to do a curve that tight, it's just gonna snap. I'd rather just sand. So once those were cut out, I smoothed them out on the belt sander. Oh, that's not a space helmet I'm wearing, by the way. It's just an overly elaborate dust mask. This kicks up a lot of dust and I don't want to deal with that. Then I glued them together with hot glue this time. After that, I added strips of 2mm EVA foam to the outside in order to create the grooves and also to cover up one of the seams. Then I glued the pommel to the end of the hilt, slightly offset towards the interior. After that, I added an L bracket in order to stabilize it. And after that, I added a dead man switch to the handle. I guess he grips it closer to the pommel. Then I added buttons made from foam dots, and then repeated the process for the other side. Next, I made the dorsal can opener. Sure, so that Dooku can open his Campbell's soup. Not a sponsor, but they could be. I sketched out the pattern onto cardboard and then traced it onto 4mm thick EVA craft foam. Scissors are not as precise as knives, so after I cut it out, I sanded out the rough spots on the belt sander. Then I super glued it to the hilt and weighted it down while it set up. All right, that's looking good. So in order to get that can opener to sit clear of the beam, I have to finish the emitter first. So let's work on that. I added a foam bevel around the circumference so that it would flare out a bit. Then I cut up a cat toy in order to widen the emitter. Okay, now that was literally just because the diameter matched. You can also just trace a circle like I did with the pommel, but this was like 2 minutes faster than that. And time is money, baby! The emitter needs a lot more detail than the foam can really express, so I use the plastic seal from the neck of a bottle for that. Just ignore how many options I have to choose from. I glued that on with super glue, and then I added another foam dot cut out to the center. I used a foam bevel to segment the hilt. There's supposed to be raised metallic panels on the exterior, which are always difficult to figure out for a 3-dimensional surface. So I used the same foam patterning technique that I often use for my droid builds to figure out 3-dimensional shapes, and wrapped the hilt with foil and duct tape. I traced the pattern onto cardboard so that it would be easier to transfer to 2mm foam. I cut it up and then traced it onto the foam. Then I wrapped that foam piece piece around the hilt, securing it with superglue. I used the same process to figure out the grip bevel on the center of the hilt. Then I used filler putty to fill in the seams and increase the parabola at the emitter. You know, just to make it more of a curve and less of an angle. When it dried, I added a final detail to the upper portion of the emitter before painting it. It's just a little bump, just 4mm foam that I sanded down. All right, time to paint. I'm gonna start that process by setting up the prop on skewers, held in place to a chunk of scrap styrofoam so that the spray can hit it from all angles. Styrofoam is great to use as a paint stand for weirdly shaped props, but it's not great to actually build the prop out of itself, because the spray paint and the styrofoam do not play nice together. Don't ask me how I found that out. Huh, and that's how to make a meteor. Then I took it to a well-ventilated area, the most ventilated area, outside, and even so, I made sure to wear a respirator. The wind kind of swirls around right here. Normally, this will take several layers of paint because EVA foam acts like a sponge, but this time I'm using Plastidip only because I'm out of gloss black paint. I used it all up on a previous build. Guys, I messed up. I was trying to make a Cylon, but I accidentally made a Knight Rider.
My name's Kit, Michael.
Well, my name's Jake.
I'm sorry, Michael.
God, look at me, I'm an AI. I think I'm better, everybody. Plastidip is normally too expensive, so I recommend gloss black acrylic house paint, which is what I normally use. This was on sale, and you know, all paint has a shelf life, so I figure use up what I have, you know? So this is a base coat that I need to do before doing the metallic top coat. When it dried, I went over it with silver rub and buff. There are shinier silvers, but I'm out. I'll typically use Molotov chrome or autochrome when I want something to be really chrome. All over except for the grip portions, because that'll mess with the glue. When that dried, I masked off the parts that I wanted to remain black, and I painted the dead man switch red. Then I used cut up backpack straps to make the hilt grips. I had to get creative and cut some of those specifically to fit the cutouts on the hilt so they would look inset, and then I glued them in with hot glue. After that, I attached the belt adapter to the side. I took a section of black foam dowel, sanded a curve into one end so that it would sit flush against the surface of the saber hilt, and then I cut that section from the dowel. The reason for sanding it first is because it's easier to hold on to this way, and sanding tools have a tendency to launch small foam pieces across the room. I stacked pieces of varying diameter on top of each other to make the groove that allows the saber to fit into the belt hook. Then for the blade, I found a dowel and I wrapped it with reflective safety tape. Because the adhesion on that tape isn't fantastic over a curved surface, I then wrapped it with clear packaging tape, which holds a lot better. I know that the LED blades are popular, but in photographs, those don't really look so good. It's a thing with camera flashes, they're designed to illuminate the shot as much as possible, which has the effect of canceling out the LED blades, which really only look good in low light. But reflective tape will throw nearly 100% of that flashbulb light straight back into the camera, actually causing what would be considered a lens flare, but it ends up looking like actual lightsabers. So that's what I've been doing. It was good enough for the original trilogy. Good enough for me. Con photographers hate me, but they can get in line. Also for fan films, if you're doing a post effect, it's 1,000 times easier to see a reflective blade than a painted wooden stunt blade. Speaking from experience. Next, I bled a kyber crystal, and I was done. Now I can disarm a Skywalker, but not a half robot Skywalker. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this video. Once again, I'd like to thank my patrons. These videos just wouldn't be possible without the support of my patrons. So if you enjoy these builds, want to see more of them, and want your build request to carry a bit more weight, then think about heading on over to the Patreon page, where you can enjoy ad-free early uploads. Anything you can pledge goes towards improving the video quality and shop equipment, as well as allowing me to put together bigger and more exciting projects for you on the channel. Alright, don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the bell icon to be notified of the future uploads, because it's kind of at a totally random schedule. And let me know what other props you'd like to see me make in comments down below. Thanks again, happy crafting, see you later!